Hi, everyone, and welcome to this evening's podcast. Good evening. My name is Ramola, and I'm here on Ramola D Reports Newsbreak 10 with Kim Straub, a professional nurse who has a very interesting story about an involuntary psych commit that she experienced very recently and the very strangeness of the events surrounding it. So we're going to hear all about the story from Kim while I fix the feedback on this. Hold on one second. So go ahead, Kim. Welcome, first of all, and thank you for coming forward to tell your story.
Sure. Well, it starts that on the 1st of October, I had downloaded some flyers from the FFTI website, Freedom for Targeted Individuals, and I had to do some errands, such as go and pick up some medical CD scans, CT scans, and x-rays. And of course, I had the normal stalking and what have you, and I was taking some pictures of the stalkers. And then—
So Kim, before we go on, can I just interrupt you over there? Because a lot of people who are watching this may not perhaps know what exactly you're making reference to, although I know a lot of our viewers do indeed have every awareness that a lot of organized stalking is going on. People are being wrongfully targeted, extrajudicially targeted, and extrajudicially stalked. So I just wanted to sort of bring that to the forefront and, feel free to comment on that as well. Yeah.
Yes, so I was a whistleblower at my previous employer. And so then I had the stalking, exactly what Ramola had said. And so for evidence, I was taking pictures. And then wherever I go, I pass out these flyers for awareness of the crime that's going on. And I went to the police station and I handed some flyers. I had to make a theft report because we had theft at our house. My husband and I had gone through over the weekend to get an inventory items that we needed, that were missing from the theft. So I went to the police station, and while I was there, I thought, wherever I go, I try to hand out some flyers. So I went to the clerks and handed them a flyer. And I said, I just want to bring awareness to this crime that's going on. And sometimes I ask them to post it if there's a board they can post it on, or to share it with other employees. And then I went to the dispatcher and handed her one. And I was waiting I had asked for the detective. And so then they handed me one of back from the dispatcher, and I said, oh no, that's hers. I said, I gave that to her. She can take that home. And then the two officers appeared, and normally in this smaller suburb, one would appear. Crime is not very bad here. And then I was at the police station, and I tried to go over my theft, and he immediately started asking me about my mental health history. I said, my medical history is of no concern here. I'm filing a theft report. And then he started asking me if I owned a gun. And I said, yes, it's my constitutional right. My gun was at home. And then he said that he started again drilling me about my mental health. And then can we please get back to the theft report? And then he came from behind and he started handcuffing me, and it was such a shock.
Without saying a word to you.
Without saying why, anything. Not we're gonna ask you to leave the property, or or leave the station. He didn't ask me anything, and he kind of jumped on me and started handcuffing me, and I was just I didn't have time to think. I reacted, and I did resist the arrest.
I know you're always told not to resist an arrest because you never know what these police officers will do. So everyone says, don't resist the arrest, but talk later, and you can address the injustice later. But of course, not everybody knows this, and especially in your case, it sounds like you were completely taken by surprise.
honestly, I knew better in my mind if I thought it out, of course. I had no chance to think about it. It was a reaction for me. You
Right.
know, of course, I wish
Absolutely.
that wouldn't have happened. And uh, so then they put me in a hot car. It didn't have the windows rolled down. I was in there maybe 20 minutes. When you're going through this, it's hard to tell, you know, exactly the time frame, but he calls then they finally roll down the window, the front window half, just like if you had an animal in the car. And then they called my husband and told him a bunch of things that I had done, and I couldn't hear it all, but I just started yelling, he's a liar, he's not telling you the truth. And then they went through my belongings, and then one of them, Officer Hubbard, BBARD, he got in the seat, and they told me they were taking me to Lakeside Behavioral Health. And I
Now,
said,
which town in Tennessee are you in, or which county?
this is in Collierville, Tennessee. It's a suburb of Memphis, Tennessee.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And yeah, and the other police officer that was with him was Officer Dunley. And he said he didn't go with us in the car. But then I started questioning the police officer, and I said, why are you taking me there? I haven't done anything wrong. I said, I'm not a harm to myself or others. I'm not suicidal, homicidal, and I'm not psychotic. What are you going to lie and say that I did to get me admitted? Because I'm not admittable. And
you were having this conversation with them in the car?
yes, I was in the back seat, of course.
And you know, right. That's
like
what they put you.
With my arms behind my back, like a criminal.
Unbelievable. But you know, it's really interesting. As a professional nurse, as a registered nurse, you know your rights, right? And you know that they're not supposed to do a psych commit unless it's one of those three things, right? If somebody poses a danger to themselves, or on the verge of suicide or homicide, or you know, are having a gun in their hands or whatever and running amok, something like that.
Right, because involuntary commitment, I wasn't going voluntary, obviously. Involuntary commitment means you lose all your rights. You cannot make decisions on your own, so they have to make decisions for you. Obviously, I wasn't in that state. So I just I knew he was going to lie or tell a lie, and I wanted him to know this is a lie. You're a police officer, and you're going to have to lie about this. And so I kept asking him pretty much all the way, and it was a 20-minute at least drive, if not 25. And then I also started asking or telling him that, you know, when he gets older, he's going to look back at this time and know, and doesn't he want to reflect and say that he helped the public and what, you know, helped, you know, reduce crime and protect innocent people instead of taking innocent people into a mental health facility and basically incarcerating them. And I witnessed to him, and then we get to Lakeside, and I go in, and I'm still handcuffed, and I asked for my belongings to go to my husband, you know, for them to call him and have him come, and then the nurse that did the first signature for involuntary commitment did not even interview me. And her name is Kathy Hope or Kathy Holt. I could not read her last name, but she's a licensed social worker, and she's certified, I guess, or able to
License
people. So then a nurse practitioner, I believe she might have been from Mobile Crisis, I'm not sure, but she interviewed me. And of course I was perfectly calm, told her the medicines I was on, you know, blood pressure medicine, the whole bit. And then I told her I was not a threat to myself or others. I was not suicidal, homicidal, or psychotic. And she did the second signature. And then I was admitted on, and the police asked for me to be admitted on the lowest functioning unit. And now that is usually for the very psychotic, and or people that they cannot stop from hurting themselves or others, you know.
This is shocking.
Pardon me?
This is shocking that they would immediately ask that you be taken to that That specific unit, the lowest functioning unit for people who are extremely violent, right? Who are in the middle of a psychotic episode or whatever, or however they.
Grossly psychotic, usually. Grossly psychotic. And
Gross.
now, mind you, I actually, after I graduated, I had worked at this hospital in 96, I believe, 95, 96. And I had worked on another unit, however, but I'm fully aware of what unit he asked for me to be on, and I did not belong there. I knew that. It was basically, I mean, he wanted me there. He wanted to punish me in some way or whatever. So I got on the unit, and now the patients didn't really scare me. I'm a nurse. I'm used to the patients. So if anybody had to be on that unit, I didn't have much problem on the unit at all. I didn't have one problem with the patients. And I really kind of enjoyed, I love the patients. So anyway, that wasn't bad. But the staff now, however, on this unit, you know, to use a towel, you have to ask for it. They didn't give me a pillow the first night, and you know, I didn't have anything. I mean, it's just really, it's really hard to explain, but when you have to ask for everything you ever get or do, a pencil, you know, whatever. So I started, and the place was filthy, filthy, filthy. And I started writing grievance forms because I was like, this place is filthy. It needs to be cleaned, you know, and I just started writing them. And I asked for about 5, and the nurses and the techs were rude to me. And I wrote their names down, who was really rude, because now, mind you, these patients can they cannot take care of themselves. So
Right.
if they're treating me this way, I'm sure they're treating them just the same way. And they were. So if you ask for something, they would ignore you. You'd have to ask 5 or 6 times. And so anyway.
Wow, they were really treating you badly.
Well, yeah, and it was bad. So then the doctor came in. He spent about 8 minutes maybe with me, and I told him I didn't belong here, that the police lied. What had happened is the police had said, the policeman, Officer Hubbard, had said that I wanted to shoot the government, shoot up the government.
Where did he get this idea?
I have no idea.
So he pulled it out of thin air. Total fabrication, total lie, outright lie.
Right, total fabrication. And then he said that I had weapons, a means, you know. So basically the thing is that you have a plan and you have a means. And so he put the means down as that I had a gun. And then he said that I was stalking people and taking pictures of them. Okay, so he turned that all around on me, and then and that was the reason I was admitted. So I asked for the patient advocate, and the house supervisor during the night. They said that she was busy the entire shift and could not talk to me, which I know that was not true. And then the police or the doctor talked to me for 8 minutes, didn't want to hear it, and he went on his way. He prescribed me medicine, never even discussed the medicine with me. Whether
what was he prescribing your medicine for?
Well, mostly for sleep. And he prescribed me trazodone. And actually, I had been having some sleep problems, but I had tried trazodone before, and it makes me sick. And so.
So is that a regular sleep medicine, a sort of a sedative?
Right. It's in the classification of an antidepressant, but they give it for sleep. Okay. And had he asked me before he prescribed it, which he didn't, or discuss it at all, which is abnormal. A doctor should discuss it with the patient. I could have told him that, but so I refused it for the first 2 nights, and then I wasn't able to call my husband and even tell him that I was at this facility. Or now the police had called him, but I couldn't talk to him and tell him what happened until the next morning when they turned the phones on. They had at that time 1 phone for 40 patients. And so I had to wait for them to be turned on and try to wait my turn and to get to call my husband.
Had they taken your cell phone, or do you have a cell phone? Or?
No, they check your cell phone in, they check everything, and I couldn't even have a bra because I had an underwire on my bra. And so
They took everything away, in other words, and sort of just gave you a hospital gown and pretty much nothing else.
they took everything from me. And so then even my shoes, I had flip flops, and you had to wear these, non-skid slippers. And so then, mind you, I understand that there are people that want to commit suicide on this unit and are determined, so they have to keep things safe. I do understand that, but I had no business being on this unit. And so anyway, so then I finally got to call my husband and tell him about it. He was getting ready to go out of town, so there wasn't a whole lot he could do for me because he had business. He had a flight to go to New York and had to go over there for business.
That's awful. So you were sort of on your own.
So I called Millicent, Dr. Black, and I called, a few other people, and they were able to relay the message. And they weren't giving me, I guess they were calling, they wouldn't give me the messages that they had called. And even though I put them on I said, anybody can contact me and everybody can contact me. Well, they said that wasn't specific enough. So that's evidently why they weren't taking messages, but that's, I don't believe that. And so anyway, finally, the doctor called on Wednesday. I was admitted on Monday, and told my husband that if she would comply with medications and everything, she could go home. But that was after he told me on Wednesday to go into court on Monday. And what that means is, and that in itself is fraud, because they're supposed to assess you with your progress every day to decide how long you have to be there. And you're involuntary. They're supposed to take you to voluntary as soon as they can, because it's such a denial of your rights.
Wait a minute. Can I just get a couple things straight here? Isn't this something like a 3-day hold only, like a 72-hour hold?
They are supposed to do a 3-day hold, and they have to get another doctor to sign. And because I was trying to plead my case to let me go to the doctor and the medical doctor as well, you get a history and physical while you're there. Evidently, they thought that I was too aggressive or something in the way I was pleading my case. Mind you, I'm on a patient bed with my hands in my lap, sitting there, and I'm threatening or aggressive. Okay, that's
because you just opened your mouth and spoke and asked a few questions. You asked for a couple of grievance forms, so they are typecasting and mischaracterizing you as aggressive for just acting normal.
Right. And they had to, I was challenging their decision probably to put me there because I did not belong there.
Of course.
They didn't like that I was writing grievance forms. I wasn't complying, I guess, falling in line like they wanted me to. And I wasn't taking the medicines that he had ordered. And I told the nurse, I don't need these medicines and I can't take this other one because it makes me sick. So finally, I was weak and I wanted to leave. I was like, I've got to go and I've got to get out of here. So I took the trazodone he had ordered me. And sure enough, the next day I was sick and had a headache the entire day, clear up, through the night the next day. So then he came in and he changed my medicine to Remeron, which is still classified as an antidepressant, and but it's stronger. And
so, Kim, can I interrupt you once again? I'm so sorry, but it sounds like even the doctor was engaging in some very fraudulent practice here, because shouldn't they first of all strive to evaluate you psychiatrically and try to find out if there is in fact any need to keep you there? And if there isn't, they have to let you go by law. Why is it that he kept on focusing on medications and tried to move you from one medication to another?
Well, one of the reasons is because you have to, in order to show continued care with Medicare, they have to do a medication change, I believe, every 4 days.
Wait a minute. So Medicare is somehow involved in this. So that's the little bit we are missing here.
Right.
So
right.
Are you saying that the involuntary hold, in a sense, is a way to get people connected to Medicare? So you're being written up in Medicare as a Medicare patient now, as soon as you're entering the hospital, as soon as you enter the hospital.
Well, since I am a Medicare patient, they said Medicare is my insurance. They felt like, I mean, the main thing is you have to, in order to be there for continued stay, they have to change the medicine or show. So if I would have refused medicine the whole time, which I should have, they would say that they weren't treating me with
Medicare.
pharmacotherapy,
Okay.
and then they want you to go to group. They want you to comply and go to group because then part of the treatment plan is that they're treating you for in therapy. So if they can't send you to therapy, then what treatment are they doing for you? And then the other thing is just they want you to comply, I realized. But the thing is whether I would have complied or not, I believe they would have kept me the whole week because they can before you go to the judge. They can charge Medicare for 6 days or a week. And then Monday, you have a judge. Well, a judge, if he was straight and honest and justice, had and had morals about everything, he would have known that it was inappropriate to keep me
There at all.
So they knew it too. So how could they send me before the judge saying on their behalf, trying to make a case that I'm still need to be a patient? So their intention always to keep me the maximum days, bill Medicare, and then not have me go before the judge. So. But anyway,
in other words, treat you as if you were a mental health patient who needed this care or this treatment for this length of time, when in actuality, the whole thing is flawed from the beginning because you were wrongfully arrested, wrongfully committed, wrongfully held on wrongful charges. And then nobody listened to you. The doctor wasn't listening to you. Was anybody open to listening to you? The social worker, the nurse?
Well, I did know one nurse, and I don't want to call her name because I don't want her to get in trouble, but she was very kind. And from the minute I saw her the first night I was there, she said, just comply, do everything you're supposed to do, and maybe you'll get out earlier. And I said it was wrong. It was fraud from the beginning. It was Medicare fraud because I didn't belong there from the admission. And then it's Medicare fraud because they kept me there for a week and did not help me or let me go. My dog's barking. Can you hear that?
Not really. I'm hearing. Oh, now I do. Yeah.
Okay, but anyway, so it was Medicare fraud. Basically, excluding my resisting arrest, which was done involuntarily. I did not mean excluding that was wrong. I am guilty of, but excluding that, basically it was like I was handcuffed and kidnapped and taken and imprisoned. Now, mind you, if he would have taken me to a jail, I would have been out so fast it wouldn't even been funny, and they know that.
That's
so
really interesting.
If they were trying to do something, but they can put you, if they have a problem with you in any way, they can put you in a psych facility. You're going to have a psych record. And basically, anytime they want to, they can pick you up. And I'm not trying to say this as a conspiracy thing, but if the census was Lakeside, the police could go pick up their prior patients and take them there and fill the place up if they wanted to. I'm not saying that ever happens, but I'm just saying
the fact that they take you to a psych facility does indeed begin to create the paperwork for a psych trail or a mental health record. Right. And once you have that, they appear to think that this is an opportunity for them to sail in at any point and kind of command your life at any point and break into your privacy and your private affairs at any point and just pick you up at any point. You become more vulnerable is what you're saying.
You really are. And I spoke with a couple people there that it seemed like they were in the same situation I was in, 2 other people. And they didn't know the system as well, but it's sad. It really is sad.
So and there is something very wrong with the psych commit scenario that we have here. Pretty much on the law books of every state. This is happening across the country. And of course, as you know, as I've been interviewing people lately from Melbourne, it's happening over there as well. It's happening all over the world. So perhaps this is the point at which we begin to expose these anomalies, these flaws, these frauds, and begin to roll back the power of law enforcement working with psychiatry to completely encroach on the privacy rights and civil liberties of people, and take people's lives over, which really is something that we as humanity do need to protest.
Right. I want to give a call out to Skizit and Neil from Citizens Against Harmful Technologies. They faxed in some information. They told me that if I had to go to court, that they would be available for me. They called many people from the community, tried to help me, and I just really Lorraine and Dr. Black and some people, Gloria, a lot of people, and I know other people probably did too. I just didn't get the messages, and that was invaluable, to be honest. It was invaluable because by Saturday, he told me I would be going home on Monday, but then a nurse told me I was on, it's not a docket, but a list to go to court. The nurse told me I was on the list. So I'm trying to prepare myself to go before the judge and on Monday, and I did not have to, and I left that day, but the doctor came in to assess me, and of course it's less than 5 minutes, and I don't know what they bill Medicare. I believe it's for 20 minutes, but anyway, he said, how are you doing? And I said, I'm doing, well, first of all, he said, how are you doing? And I said, well, I'm excited to see my husband. And he said, well, how are you doing? And I said, I'm doing the same I was before my admission. So, I mean, other than you've imprisoned me for a week, taken a week away from my life, and,
so it was a week, it was a whole week, and you left, when were you finally released, and how did you finally get out of there? I mean, that's the big question, right? Did you have to ultimately sign up as a voluntary patient? Is that how you managed to get out?
Right. They don't want you to go from involuntary. I mean, you think about it. You have no rights when you're involuntary. That means you're not capable of making your own decisions, which was so wrong. And so they cannot discharge you in that status. So you have to go to voluntary, and then you can be discharged. And hold on one second. Missy Sue, come here. Come on. So anyway, I could let her in and she'd stop barking if it's too distracting. But anyway, so then they told me I could not leave unless I signed this paper, and it basically said that I was responsible for the financially responsible, and I give consent to be treated, yada yada yada, which I didn't. But he threatened me basically that I couldn't leave without signing this. It was Nurse Lee. They don't give you their last names, so I signed it. And then I got out. Well, today they received a letter stating that I was under duress, and I did not sign that willingly.
Good, absolutely, because it seems very, very wrong that you would have to admit to something that is not true at all. And I can share screens actually at this point, and we can show people that flyer that you showed that started this whole thing out, and we can talk a little bit more about it if you want to go get the dog. I
think my husband just let her in. He just got home. So.
Oh, okay. All right. Let me see what I'm doing over here. It doesn't look like I can. Okay, I'm gonna have to set it up differently. I don't know what's going on with Zoom over here. I think I have to share screens on the same app or something like that. And I had it opened up elsewhere. So just give me a few minutes. But basically that whole question surrounding how you left and the fact that you had to sign this and kind of become a voluntary patient just in order to get yourself out of there seems highly irregular. Why is it that way? Is it that way for others? Have you heard of other cases like that? Do you know?
Yeah, you think about it. I knew that I would never do a crime, so I never went over in my head what I would do if I was handcuffed, I guess. But I suggest that everybody think about it, because you don't want to resist. And then I would not give flyers out at the police station.
Oh, right.
Give to your local police funds. Donate money to them. That's probably the only flyers they want passed around.
Yeah. But, there's absolutely nothing in these flyers. I've already looked at them that could possibly give anybody any cause for alarm, because they're flyers that are about this whole program of organized torture and stalking that many people do know about, and many other people don't know about. So,
yeah, they definitely, in my opinion, went to extreme measures for doing that, if that's the reason. And honestly, it may have had nothing to do with the flyers and everything to do with the program I'm in. And honestly, that's what I thought it was at first. I thought that I was a whistleblower, and it was just retaliation from that.
mm-hmm. Yeah. So here's the flyer that you were handing out. I'm sharing my screen. Do you see it, Kim?
Yes, I do. And that actually, that's the long flyer, and that's the one I really wanted to give out, but I only had some of the short flyer left.
You had the short flyer. So yes, I'm going to the Freedom for Targeted Individuals website. Is this the one?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so this is the one from Ella Free's website, right? Freedom for Targeted Individuals. And it's all about organized stalking, about how women are largely stalked, about the sonic attacks on U.S. diplomats in Cuba and China, on the fact that indeed microwave weapons are being used domestically and very surreptitiously. I have been covering this for ages. So obviously this is an issue that I know is very, very real. And some people don't seem to know it, and that's because mainstream media has been publishing lies for a very long time. So all of the websites, though, that cover the issues of targeting, like Freedom for Targeted Individuals, my website, various other people's websites, surveillancesissues.com, mindjustice.org, have been publishing a lot of information about these stalking and torture programs for a very, very long time. So there is absolutely nothing in here that should have been of any kind of concern to anyone who was handed a flyer. But we know, of course, that part of what's going on in our communities is that law enforcement is trying to keep a lid on these crimes. So that's part of, our job here, is to try to continue the exposure and keep talking openly about it, so that we break through these barriers that are being placed in our society by various so-called authorities, whether it's law enforcement or doctors, such as in your hospital, or the media, mainstream media. So we continue to, bang away at the truth until the truth is known to everybody.
Right, exactly. And the other thing that was very odd is, while I was at the hospital, I said I had send everything to my husband, all my belongings to my husband. I had a black bag, like a book bag, and I had those flyers in it. They kept those flyers and all of my, I had some medical evidence and pictures and things like that as proof in case I got into a discussion with somebody. They kept all that, which was my medical information. They had no right to keep that. They sent everything else home with my husband. So they picked and choose what they would keep, and they kept my flyers to look over them and all my information that I had on my medical stuff. And they chose what they kept. And it's very interesting that in some of the evidence I did not get back. So, but ironically, my cash and jewelry I had all made it to my husband, but those flyers and the evidence did not, until we, at another day.
Did you ask for it, or did you get it back eventually? You did.
I even wrote it in the grievance forms that I was filling out, that my all of my belongings were not given to my husband. But ironically, my money, my jewelry, and all that stuff was given to him, but they wanted to keep my evidence and my flyers. And they kept that until I wrote grievance forms. I had to fill out another, get it to them. That's
You know,
odd.
it's absolutely extraordinary. The entire experience that you have described over here, Kim, it sounds so very distressing and stressing and unsettling. And, I'm glad you've come through it okay. I can't believe it. 1 whole week held over there and forced to take their drugs and then sign yourself out as a voluntary patient. It sounds incredible. I mean, look at the situation we're living in today. This is like political psychiatry. This is like psychiatry taking over the citizenry, the populace, to the extent that people don't have any rights. And the law enforcement, so this is something to be stressed. The guy who put you in there, who arrested you, told a big fat lie to the hospital, and that lie was that you were threatening to blow up the government. I mean, what on earth? That was outrageous. You see, this is the bogus nature of this war on terror situation that we're all dealing with today. Because under the story of war on terror, the need for surveillance, etc., you have police officers lying, making up stories about people being threats in order to put people on threat lists, in order to put people on terrorist lists, watch lists, and commit them as well, apparently, it sounds like. So this kind of extreme evil absolutely needs to be published far and wide. So we need to let these guys know they cannot do that, get away with it. The whole purpose of the press, I think, is to shine a light on injustice in society. And this is surely and clearly a case of that. So I thank you so much for coming forward and telling your story. Is there anything else that you'd like to draw our attention to before we sign off on this session? I'd love to have you back, of course, as you know, Kim, and hear your whole story at some point.
Yeah, I'd like that. Yeah, the scary thing about it is that you're right. I've been from this incident. I will be placed. Was on the terror watch list. The money will go to the Collierville Police Department and the fusion centers, and it just releases a ton of money for everybody. And meanwhile the saga goes on. So it's just wrong. But thank you so much, and we'll talk again.
You're very welcome. Thanks so much for being here. I'm going to thank our viewers very much for watching, and we'll see you very soon again, I hope. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Okay, bye-bye.